Welcome back to Disturbed Reality. Michoacan, a land of breathtaking beauty nestled in western Mexico. It's a state known for its rolling green hills, fertile valleys and rich volcanic soil that has nourished generations of farmers. This is the birthplace of the monarch butterfly migration, where millions of delicate wings paint the forests orange every winter. It's also home to Lake Padzakuro, shimmering under the sun, surrounded by historic towns where ancient traditions and colonial architecture coexist. But beyond the natural wonders, Michoacan is a vital heart of Mexico's agricultural production. Avocados, limes, mangoes, berries, the fruits of this land don't just feed the nation, they reach dining tables across the world. The region's nickname, the avocado capital of the world, speaks to its immense economic value. Farmers rise with the sun hands in the soil, cultivating orchards that sustain not only their families, but entire global markets. This should be a land of abundance, a land where prosperity and culture flourish side by side. Yet beneath this image of natural wealth and cultural pride, a darker story has taken root. For decades, Michoacan has become one of the most contested battlegrounds in Mexico's ongoing war with drug cartels. The same fertile soil that grows the world's avocados and limes has also drawn the attention of criminal organizations who see opportunity not in cultivation, but in control. Cartels here don't only traffic narcotics, they extort farmers, dictate prices, and even seize orchards outright. For many agricultural communities, paying protection fees has become as unavoidable as tending to the crops themselves. Violence erupts when farmers resist, families are displaced, lives are lost. In some towns, the presence of armed men patrolling roads is as common as seeing tractors in the fields. Michoacan has also given rise to unique forms of resistance. In recent years, communities have armed themselves, forming vigilante groups, autodefensas, to push back against the cartels. But even this resistance has been complicated. Some vigilantes have grown corrupted, others absorbed into rival criminal groups, creating an endless cycle of power struggles and bloodshed. What was once a story of fertile fields and cultural heritage has become a cautionary tale of how organised crime can infect every layer of societal politics, law enforcement, and everyday life. The same valleys that echo with the laughter of festivals and the hum of harvests also echo with gunfire and fear. Michoacan today is a paradox, a place of immense beauty and devastating violence. A land that should symbolise life and growth, but instead has become a symbol of Mexico's larger struggle against cartel domination. In this video, we're going to explore how this transformation happened, how Michoacan, a state blessed by nature and history, became a frontline in one of the most brutal conflicts in Mexico's bloody drug war. Michoacan state has been a strategic area for drug cartels for decades at this point, not only due to its natural resources and fertile land, but also due to the fact that Michoacan sits on Mexico's Pacific coast, giving cartels access to seaports like Lázaro Cárdenas, one of the largest ports in the country. This port is a key entry point for precursor chemicals, such as those used to make methamphetamine and fentanyl arriving from Asia, particularly China. CJNG in particular, who have been battling for control of Michoacan state for the better part of a decade, has made securing seaports a primary tactic in their quest for domination of the Mexican underworld. Those who control ports have a huge advantage in the trafficking of meth and fentanyl. Michoacan is historically one of the first regions in Mexico where methamphetamine was mass-produced. La Familia Michoacana and later the Knights Templar cartel established labs in the state using imported precursors from the Pacific port. Meth, being highly profitable and less risky than trafficking bulky cocaine or heroin, cemented Michoacan as a centre of cartel innovation, and as a result, numerous groups have popped up in the area in recent years, all looking to take their slice of an ever more profitable pie. These groups include La Nueva Familia Michoacana, Guerreros Unidos, Los Viagras, Carteles Unidos, El Migaladas, Los Tlacos, CJNG, as well as a whole host of other smaller groups. Its mountainous terrain and remote rural areas also provides cover for drug cultivation, processing and smuggling routes. Possibly the most interesting cartel in the area, and in my opinion one of the most interesting in the whole of Mexico, would be the group known as Carteles Unidos, or in English, the United Cartels. Carteles Unidos, also simply known as CU, is the brainchild of Juan Jose Farias Alvarez, aka El Abuelo, and he's considered to be the leader of Carteles Unidos. Juan Jose Farias Alvarez, widely known as El Abuelo, was born in Tepalcatepec, Michoacan, and comes from a large family with a total of 14 siblings. Before becoming involved in armed activities, he worked as a farmer, rancher, and also a cheese merchant. He was also part of the Rural Defense Corps, a Michoacan autodefensa who battled against drug cartels in rural Michoacan. When he first came to public attention, he cultivated the image that he was a vigilante, protecting the people against the predatory nature of drug cartels. Over time, Farias Alvarez became a central figure within the self-defense movement, groups of armed citizens that emerged in response to the violence of organized crime and the inaction of the authorities. According to the magazine of the Institute of Legal Research, these self-defense groups are defined as civilians organized in order to procure security that the state has not been able to offer. His power within Tepalcatepec became so notorious, according to statements by Guillermo Valencia Reyes, who was mayor of the municipality. Quoted by the media monitor Expresso in 2015, it was public knowledge that El Abuelo exercised absolute control. The mayor stated, "Everyone, even the federal police, knows that El Abuelo is the one who commands the municipality. He's the boss, he's the owner, the one who decides on the life and destiny of many people in Tepalcatepec." It was around this time where El Abuelo was considered more than just a charismatic vigilante. In fact, it was clear that he was a fully fledged cartel leader. His crew, known as Cartel de Tepalcatepec, essentially just took the resources, drug labs and influence from those groups that they defeated, and they became a local power within Michoacan state. They quickly formed an alliance with another violent local group known as Los Viagras, as well as other smaller, localized gangs, and this would become known as the United Cartels, Carteles Unidos. The group were founded to fight against the CJNG invasion, who had earmarked the state as a vital component to their ability to make meth and fentanyl. The state is also the home of CJNG leader Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, aka El Mencho, so there's also a personal dynamic to Cartel Jalisco's attempts to take over the state. Carteles Unidos dominate the municipality of Tepalcatepec, and due to El Abuelo's influence in the area, Cartel Jalisco have struggled to get the upper hand on Carteles Unidos. The truth is, El Abuelo in the area actually holds more favour not only with the public, but also with law enforcement and even the military. A local activist and mother of a victim of kidnapping by the Knights Templar, known as Olivia, claims that in a publication on Farias, she describes Farias as a generous person who cared about his community, somebody who enjoyed the appreciation of his neighbours. She's quoted as saying, "He has a lot of livestock, he grows large areas of sorghum and wheat, and produces cheese. He always seeks to help those most in need," she states. She goes on to state that he used to lend cows to people in precarious conditions to take care of, and when the cattle grew, he gave them away. She states, "He doesn't want to take advantage of people but wants to help them. That is why he's very loved." This is the image that El Abuelo has managed to cultivate among some in Michoacan, but primarily in and around Tepalcatepec. Despite the image he's created for himself, El Abuelo has been in the criminal underworld for some time. He has been involved in Michoacan's underworld since the 1990s, previously leading self-defense groups battling the likes of Knights Templar as mentioned, but security forces and witnesses recognize him as a regional commander of the Milenio Cartel all the way back to the 90s and the early 2000s. In fact, it's said that he had a good relationship with CJNG boss El Mencho for many years, as they worked together back in the day when they were members of a Milenio Cartel. Interestingly, Farias Alvarez once allied himself with the CJNG as they initially moved into Michoacan. though this alliance was destroyed when Cartel Jalisco launched a series of bloody assaults against Cartel de Tepalcatepec, with El Mencho reportedly issuing a personal statement threatening Farias Alvarez. Ultimately, Mencho realized that Abuelo Farias had too much influence in Michoacán, and his Carteles Unidos group were more powerful than he anticipated. Despite his clash with El Mencho, Farias Alvarez still has some powerful connections. His brother, Uriel, aka El Paisa, is a former mayor of Tepalcatepec, and also a founder of vigilante groups in that municipality. Also, in 2014, just to highlight El Abuelo's power, he met with the Mexican government Special Security Envoy to Michoacán, Alfredo Castillo Cervantes. Even with Cartel Jalisco's superior financing, manpower, weaponry, and national political connections, the CU has largely been able to stop its main rival from taking hold of Michoacán state so far. This is due to their close ties with local politicians, law enforcement, and the army. In fact, it's been speculated that local army units have been supporting Carteles Unidos by offering them training, weaponry, and even going after CJNG in the area, while they let Carteles Unidos operate freely and with impunity. Their greater support from Michoacán residents is also a massive advantage for them. Due to their local connections, with civilians and those in power alike, Carteles Unidos possess crucial information on safe houses and enemy operatives, giving them a strategic advantage. The allied organisation already has the loyalty of residents, which is critical to gathering intel and makes the CJNG's potential takeover ever more difficult. Carteles Unidos, despite being made up of numerous groups, have actually maintained their alliances surprisingly well. This may be due to the clear and present danger presented by Cartel Jalisco, but it is still very surprising to see such alliances last for so long. Many analysts, however, suggest that if CJNG give up on the area, or they lose influence in the area, we could then see Carteles Unidos fracture and split into multiple different groups, which in turn will either maintain the already high murder rates in Michoacán, or make them rise even higher. Ultimately, Michoacán, a traditionally violent state, shows no signs of reducing said violence, and with Carteles Unidos' reign not looking likely to end anytime soon, the state will remain one of Mexico's most violent, especially in combination with the other gangs in the area, such as CJNG, who are not exactly renowned for their restraint or diplomatic nature. While Michoacán doesn't garner the same coverage as other Mexican states, such as Tamaulipas, Sinaloa, Baja California, Sonora, and Jalisco, make no mistake, it remains one of Mexico's most contested battlegrounds, and what the locals have been through in the past few decades is frankly shocking. At the end of the day, when covering the latest goings-on in the Mexican underworld, you realise it's a never-ending cycle of violence and a real-life Hunger Games, and quite frankly, it's hard to keep on top of. In recent days, however, two new shocking videos have made the rounds, one to do with the internal Sinaloa Civil War, and the other is somewhat of a mystery. The mystery video, I was told by a subscriber, was from Michoacán, but I cannot confirm that fully, as I can't find any sources online to corroborate this claim. Regardless, it's a new cartel video from Mexico. But nevertheless, what happens in the actual videos? The first video in question was released around the 1st of October 2025, and according to a subscriber of mine it's from Michoacán, though I have yet to fully confirm this. The details of the video are hard to confirm, as in the version that I have at least contains no sound. From the looks of it, it looks like the possible aftermath of a cartel shootout. The video has been shot during daytime in a rural location. As you play the video, you are immediately met with brutality. You see what looks like a hole or a shallow grave, with 3 men lying in it. 2 are already dead, and 1 even appears to be beheaded. In the middle lays a young man who is very much still alive. The young man is laying on his side. He's instinctively laying in the recovery position as he awaits his fate. 2 sicarios can be seen standing over the man, and they then both proceed to kneel over him. One covers the victim's mouth with the palm of his hand, while simultaneously pressing the victim's head against the ground, essentially immobilizing him. The other Sicario, who is kneeling, is carrying a knife, and he lines up the tip of a blade with the side of the captive's neck before he stabs it deep into the jugular. You see the victim jolt as this happens. Once the knife has been stabbed into the neck, the hitman then essentially slices outwards, cutting through the windpipe before the blade then cuts through the front of the neck, essentially opening up the victim's throat. Think of the technique used in Chechnya, it's very similar. Once the captive's neck has been opened up, you see the Sicario use his blade to cut around the spinal cord. It's grim. When the blade scrapes against the spine, you see the victim's body jolt and spasm due to the nerves. You also see just how small the blade actually is, though it's razor sharp. As a few seconds go by, the hitman has already cut all the flesh around the spinal cord, and at this point, the victim's head can be seen unstably bobbing around on the top of his body, like a human bobblehead. The video ends before the beheading is complete. Brutal, but that is all I can report on this video. Now the next video is much more brutal, and it has a lot more backstory. The video stems from the Sinaloa Cartel civil war between La Maiza and Los Chapitos. The clip is a retaliation for the desecration of a grave belonging to the son of Jesus Vicente Zambada, one of Mayo Zambada's sons himself. The son of Jesus Vicente Zambada died as a child and had a temple-type grave where toys, flowers and pictures were constantly left. It's said that members of Los Chapitos desecrated the grave. They burned the toys, smashed up the pictures and trashed the place. They even stole the ashes of the deceased child. Jesus Vicente is hated by Los Chapitos, as during El Chapo's trial, he testified against the former Sinaloan kingpin, that being El Chapo. Due to his cooperation with authorities, Vicente is currently in witness protection in the USA, meaning he's a free man living his best life in America. While he's not expected to be involved in cartel business anymore, his name still carries weight within the La Maiza faction. From what I see online, the desecration of the grave happened several months ago, but La Maiza didn't forget, and eventually, they captured one of the perpetrators of the destruction of the grave while he was out and about in Culiacan. The punishment he received was utterly brutal. Due to the nature of the video, I cannot show still images, not one. The video in question is just over 2 minutes in length, and it's been filmed at night in a forest-type location. As you play the video, you are immediately met with barbarity. The camera is focusing on a man who is sitting on the ground in the hole of a tire, and the man is on fire. His whole body isn't on fire, but there are patches of fire all over his body, including that of his face. Several men can be heard asking him questions, as the victim holds his cuffed hands up to his face, trying to pat the fire out. The victim tries to answer, but to no avail. The victim makes light grunts of pain, but considering the horrific situation, he doesn't scream at all. He just makes noises that you would mistake for somebody who suffered a minor pain. The Sicarios ask the man questions, maybe in regards to who he works for, and the victim mentions a man by the name of El Nino and another called Jonathan. At this point, the captive however does then begin to freak out, and the pain is becoming more unbearable. He makes noises like he's about to hyperventilate. Bear in mind his face is completely engulfed in flames, and his legs and lower torso are also partially on fire. The captive then begins to make panting noises, and his voice lowers in tone like he wants to cry. Another Sicario is then heard talking. He insults the victim, the usual cartel rhetoric, calling him puta madre, and he then douses the victim in more flammable liquid, which makes the flames roar. At this point, the victim squeals in a high-pitched manner. You see the captive frantically trying to move, but it looks like he's actually stuck in between the tire. He also tries to pat himself down to extinguish the flames, but it doesn't work. Every 10 seconds or so, a Sicario squirts the flammable liquid on the victim, maintaining the flames, and the captive just continues to writhe around in the tire. He's stopped screaming at this point, but he's moving frantically, doing his best to break himself free. It's incredibly hard to watch. After about 1 minute and 30 into the video, the captive is basically engulfed in flames. At this point, the captive is still moving, but his movements become more wooden. I can't explain it, but they look extremely stiff. He's also now making noises again. You hear his breathing, and the smoke from his burning clothes and attire has entered his lungs, and you hear the mucus bubbling as he tries to take breaths. The person filming then also gets closer to the victim, and his facial features are beginning to melt. Blotches of skin have been completely charred. You also see that his clothes are beginning to fuse into his skin. That's what it looks like, at least. The captive, over 2 minutes into the burning, is still alive, however. He still tries to move, but much less frequently. The video ends as the victim continues to cling on to life, breathing in the toxic smoke, causing his lungs to burn up, creating the horrible breathing sounds. The clip ends here. Apparently, the reason why the La Maíza Sicario set the man on fire was because allegedly, the victim in the video was the one who set fire to the toys of Vicente Zambada's son, his deceased son, so that's why they set fire to the victim himself. But anyway, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it, if you can enjoy this sort of content. As always, if you're new here, if you could hit subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Links to my Twitter, my Twitch, etc. in the pinned comment below. As always, thank you for the support. It's much appreciated. And that time again, as always, stay safe. And I'll catch you on the next one.